Life has a way of balancing its own scales, making sure no one escapes the weight of their own actions. The universe keeps its books in order. Every deception, every betrayal, every attempt to sabotage someone else's path comes back with interest. Those who throw thorns in your way will one day find themselves walking barefoot through a field of knives. That's the law of balance. That's the silent justice no one can outrun. And yet, they thought they could break you. They laughed when you struggled, whispered when you stumbled, and celebrated when they thought you had fallen for good. But what they didn't realize is that their own hands were writing their downfall. The harder they worked against you, the deeper they dug their own grave. Their envy became the fuel that burned them from the inside out. They sharpened their knives only to end up bleeding on the edges. Because the chosen ones, they are wired differently. When the storm hits, others run for shelter. You walk into the eye of it, untouched. You weren't given an easy road, but you were given the strength to walk the hardest one. Every betrayal only made you sharper. Every loss, another layer of armor. They thought they were throwing you into darkness, but you were the one who learned to see in it. And now they flinch when you walk into the room. They feel the weight of their own actions pressing down on them because deep down, they know they never really had the power to stop you. The same ones who mocked you are now haunted by the shadow of your success. They thought they buried you, but all they did was plant a seed. And when you rise, they will have no choice but to watch. This is your time. Your power is no longer something they can ignore. If you're ready to claim what's yours, make sure to like this video, subscribe, and let the world know. The chosen never fall, have they evolved. Number 1. Stop thinking. It's a blessing. The chosen one. Path is a curse in disguise. They call it a gift, but you know better. Being chosen isn't some golden ticket to an easy life. It's a war you never signed up for. A battlefield where every step forward comes with a cost. People look at you from the outside and see resilience, strength, and an almost unnatural ability to rise from the ashes. What they don't see is the weight crushing your shoulders, the sleepless nights where your mind replays every battle you've fought, and the exhaustion of carrying a burden that was never meant to be fair. The truth is, life didn't ask you if you were ready. It didn't knock gently on your door with an invitation. It barged in like a ruthless storm, threw the weight of the world at your feet, and whispered, "Survive if you can." No instructions, no safety net. Just the cold, relentless demand to figure it out while everyone else watches from the sidelines. And the worst part, no one claps for the chosen one when they're in the trenches. No one sees the nights when you question everything, when the loneliness is so thick it feels like it might suffocate you. People love to admire strength from a distance. They love the idea of the chosen one, the unbreakable, the unstoppable, the one who defies the odds. But they don't want to live the pain that created it. They envy what they don't understand. They assume it must be destiny, some divine favor, when in reality, it's just suffering repackaged into something they find admirable. They don't see the scars, the betrayals, the quiet moments when giving up seems like the only option. And here's the cruel irony: the world only celebrates the chosen one after they've survived. Before that, you're just another person struggling, another fighter clawing through the darkness, another outcast walking a road no one else dares to tread. They don't recognize the weight you carry until it crushes you. And only then do they call you strong after you've already bled, after you've already endured more than they ever could. But here's the real secret. You are not chosen because you wanted to be. You are chosen because you had to be, because no one else could handle what you have, because the very things that were meant to break you forged you instead. And maybe, just maybe, if they could see the wreckage you had to walk through, they'd stop wishing for your strength. Because the truth is, being chosen is not a privilege, it's survival. And only those who have lived through the fire understand what it really costs. Number 2, surviving hell won't make you shine. It will strip you to your core. Hell doesn't refine you into something beautiful. It doesn't sculpt you into some shining, admired figure. No, hell burns you raw. It doesn't ask for your permission. It takes everything you once were, rips it apart, and leaves only the pieces that refuse to die. The world loves to paint survival as some grand, heroic tale, as if walking through fire automatically makes you something admirable. But the truth is uglier. Hell doesn't polish you. It doesn't turn you into an enlightened, graceful warrior. It destroys you first. It burns away your illusions, your softness, your expectations of mercy. What's left isn't something people can easily define. It's not delicate. It's not gentle. It's relentless. When you've walked through hell, you don't come out the same. You come out unshakable, jagged, and far more dangerous than before. And that's exactly why they fail when they try to break you. They don't realize you've already been shattered and rebuilt 1,000 times. They think you'll flinch, fold, beg for mercy. But how do you scare someone who's already faced every nightmare imaginable? How do you hurt someone who made peace with pain long ago? They try to wound you, and you don't even blink. They try to destroy you, and all they do is give you another reason to rise stronger. Because hell doesn't just teach endurance, it reshapes your relationship with suffering. Pain doesn't control you anymore. It doesn't paralyze you. It doesn't feel foreign. It feels like an old companion, something you've learned to carry without fear. That's what they don't understand. They think they can use pain as a weapon, but they're bringing fire to someone who was born in the flames. So let them try. Let them throw their worst at you. They expect to see you crumble. They want to watch you break. But all they're really doing is reminding you just how indestructible you've become. Because you didn't just survive hell, you became something it could never destroy. Number 3, never trust blindly. Trauma gives you X-ray, vision for a reason. Surviving hell doesn't just change you, it rewires you. When you've been through the kind of suffering that shatters most people, something inside you sharpens. You start seeing things others don't. You catch the slight hesitation in their voice, the flicker of doubt behind their eyes, the way their words and actions never quite align. It's not intuition, it's survival. When life has thrown you into the fire, you learn to read the flames before they consume you. People assume wisdom comes with age, but for the chosen ones, it comes with war wounds. You don't get to walk through the kind of darkness you have and remain blind to the intentions of others. You've seen the uglier sides of humanity, the betrayal, the manipulation, the cruelty disguised as kindness. You no longer take words at face value. Compliments feel like bait, smiles like weapons, and promises like ticking time bombs. They think you're cold, distant, untrusting, but the truth is, you've simply learned the cost of believing in the wrong people. And here's the kicker. This perception isn't always a blessing. It's exhausting. You hear the hidden meanings in conversations. You feel the weight behind unspoken words. You know who's lying before the lie is even fully formed. This clarity sets you apart, makes people uneasy, and makes them question themselves in your presence. They don't like being exposed, and they hate that they can't hide from you. But you wouldn't trade this awareness for ignorance, not for anything. Because while others blindly walk into traps, you see them coming a mile away. You know who's real and who's wearing a mask. You know when to walk away and when to strike. And that makes you dangerous, not because you attack first, but because you can't be deceived. So let them call you cynical. Let them say you don't trust enough. The truth is, trust isn't something you hand out like candy. It's a privilege earned through fire. And most, they don't deserve it. You don't hate people. You've just stopped believing in the illusions they try to sell. And in that, you found the ultimate freedom. Number 4, they want your strength, but not your struggle. Don't let them use you. Everyone loves a hero. They love the image, the unshakable force, the beacon of resilience, the warrior who never stumbles. They cheer when you rise. They admire your strength, and they feed off your victories like parasites. But here's what they will never admit. They don't want the truth behind it. They don't want to see the cost. They don't see the sleepless nights when your mind won't shut off, replaying every battle you've fought. They don't feel the weight of every scar, every betrayal, and every sacrifice you had to make just to stand where you are. They romanticize your survival, but turn their eyes away from the wreckage it left behind. They want the triumph, not the suffering. The legend, not the war. People will tell you they admire your strength, but what they really mean is they admire the illusion of it. They want the inspiration, not the exhaustion. They want the hero, but not the fury that simmers beneath the surface. They want the success story, but not the countless nights where you questioned if it was even worth it. They want the polished version of your struggle, the one they can clap for, not the brutal, ugly, relentless reality of what it took to get here. And the irony, the same people who cheer for your victories are the ones who would have walked past you if they saw you struggling in the dark. They love a hero only after they've survived. But when you were fighting your demons alone, where were they? Nowhere. That's why the chosen ones move differently. You don't fight for applause. You don't suffer for validation. You do what needs to be done because you have no choice. Because life didn't hand you an easy road. And because at the end of the day you know this truth. They don't actually want the hero. They want the story they can sell. And when the fight gets ugly, when the weight becomes unbearable, they disappear because deep down, they know they could never carry what you do. Let them clap when it's over. You don't need their approval. You never did. Number 5, people think you're unbreakable. Don't let them forget you. Bleed too. They look at you, standing tall after everything, and assume you're untouchable. They think resilience is some kind of superpower, like you've become immune to pain just because you've survived it before. But what they don't realize is that resilience isn't armor, it's scar tissue. It doesn't make you invincible. It just means you've learned how to carry the wounds without letting them stop you. People love the idea of an unbreakable person. They romanticize it, thinking that once you've endured enough, nothing can hurt you anymore. They mistake survival for immunity, as if every hardship has somehow erased your ability to feel pain. But the truth is, resilience isn't about being untouchable. It's about continuing to stand even when every part of you wants to collapse. Every scar has a story. Every victory came with a cost. The hardest part. When they see you survive time and time again, they stop offering help. They assume you don't need it. They think you don't struggle, don't have moments where the weight of it all feels unbearable. They don't see the nights you sit in silence, exhausted from fighting battles no one even knows about. They don't hear the thoughts that creep in, the doubts, the loneliness, and the silent questions that never leave. How much more can I take? But here's what separates the chosen ones from the rest. You keep going anyway. Not because it's easy, not because you're fearless, but because stopping isn't an option. They think you don't feel the blows. You do. You just refuse to let them define you. They assume you don't bleed. You do. But you've mastered the art of moving forward even when it hurts. That's why they fear you. That's why they envy you. Because no matter how many times life tries to break you, you come back sharper, stronger, more determined than before. And the worst part for them? The more they throw at you, the more they realize nothing they do will ever be enough to stop you. Number 6. Pain won't stop coming. But here's why it won't control you anymore. Pain doesn't mean the same thing to you anymore. Hell didn't just test you, it rewired you. Once, the smallest betrayal might have stung, the sharp words of others might have left a mark, and the fear of loss might have kept you up at night. But after walking through the kind of fire that reduces most to ashes, those things barely register. What used to break you now feels like background noise. They still don't get it. They try their usual tricks, cutting remarks, fake smiles hiding knives, mind games meant to throw you off balance. But they're playing against someone who has already seen what true destruction looks like. Someone who has stood in the wreckage of everything they once knew and built themselves back from nothing. Do they really think a petty insult, a little betrayal, or a minor loss will shake you? They're bringing a matchstick to a wildfire. The thing about pain is, once you've survived a certain level of it, your threshold changes forever. You've already felt the deepest kind of suffering, the kind that doesn't just hurt, it reshapes you. So when they try to push your buttons, they're met with silence. Not because you don't feel, but because you don't respond the way they expect. The pain they deliver is nothing compared to the agony you've already endured. What they think will break you barely leaves a scratch. But there's a price for this transformation. When pain loses its power, so does everything else. Things that once excited you now feel dull. The highs aren't as high. The victories don't feel as sweet. It's not that you don't care. It's that you've seen too much, survived too much. You've learned to measure life in battles won, not in fleeting emotions. This is the trade-off of surviving hell. You don't flinch anymore. You don't fear what others fear. You've become something untouchable. And while they waste their energy trying to hurt you, they don't realize the truth. You stopped being breakable a long time ago. Number 7. Society fears what it can't break. That's why they want you tamed. Society thrives on control. It wants people who fit into neat little boxes, predictable, obedient, easy to manage. It fears those who don't play by its rules, those who refuse to be tamed. And that's exactly why the chosen ones are seen as a threat. They aren't dangerous because they seek destruction. They're dangerous because they cannot be controlled. A person who has been through hell doesn't flinch at intimidation. Fear tactics don't work on someone who has already faced the worst and survived. You can't manipulate them with fake promises, and you can't lure them in with comfort. They've learned to live without approval, without validation, without the need to be accepted. And that's what truly terrifies people. The ones who tried to break you, they thought stripping you down, isolating you, and making you feel small would weaken you. But instead, it burned away everything unnecessary, leaving behind someone they could no longer control. That kind of resilience is unsettling to those who rely on power dynamics. They don't know what to do with someone who doesn't need their approval, who won't beg for acceptance, who sees right through their games. This is why society turns against the chosen ones. They aren't part of the system. They exist outside of it. Their silence is misinterpreted as arrogance, their independence mistaken for rebellion. But this was never about defiance. It was always about survival. When you've endured enough, you stop looking for permission to exist on your own terms. And that's why they fear you. You've seen too much. You've lost too much. You've been through fire and came out untamed. You don't fit into their categories, and that makes you unpredictable. Society wants order, and you are the chaos it cannot contain. The truth is, they fear what they cannot break, and they cannot break you. You've already been shattered, rebuilt, and sharpened into something stronger. They can whisper, they can label, and they can try to force you into a mold. But in the end, they're left powerless against the one thing they will never understand, a chosen one who refuses to kneel. Number 8. Stop trying to be the hero. Not every chosen one is here to save the world. Not every chosen one walks the path of a savior. The world loves to spin stories of survivors turning into heroes, of those who endured the worst, somehow emerging with a heart full of mercy, ready to forgive, ready to save. But that's the kind of lie people tell themselves to make suffering sound noble, to convince themselves that pain has a higher purpose. The truth? Not all chosen ones are here to rescue the world. Some are here to reclaim what was stolen from them. People assume that surviving hell comes with some kind of divine duty, that the ones who've been through the worst will rise up and fight for justice. But what if survival wasn't about a mission? What if it was just about refusing to let the pain win? Not every chosen one wants to be the light in someone else's darkness. Some of them fight only for themselves, for the chance to exist without the weight of expectation. They don't seek glory. They don't seek admiration. They seek something much simpler, peace in a world that never gave it to them. And why should they care about redemption? Redemption implies a debt, as if surviving wasn't enough, as if they owe the world something for simply enduring. But here's the reality. Most chosen ones never asked for this. They never volunteered for the battle, never wanted to carry the weight that life threw at them. If anything, the world should be apologizing to them, not expecting them to rise up and serve a cause they never chose. Some chosen ones disappear entirely, not because they are weak, but because they are tired of the judgments, the expectations, the constant whispers of what they should be. Others seek revenge, not because they are cruel, but because justice is something they were never given. And some just want to exist, without the chains of being special, without the burden of always being strong. The world wants heroes, but not every chosen one is interested in playing that role. They didn't survive for applause. They didn't fight for admiration. They came back for one reason: to live on their own terms, free from the weight of being anything other than who they truly are. And that, in itself, is enough. Number 9. The lie they sell you. Pain doesn't always make you stronger. They sold you a lie. The myth that every battle leaves you stronger, that every hardship polishes you into some untouchable force, is nothing more than a comforting illusion. They want to believe that pain is a sculptor, chiseling away weakness and turning you into something greater. But you know the truth. Sometimes pain just takes. It drains, it scars, and it leaves you standing there, not stronger, not wiser, just there, holding the pieces of what used to be you. Not every storm makes you a warrior. Some just leave you soaked, cold, and wondering if you can make it through another night. They expect you to rise every time with fire in your eyes, like you're some legend in the making. But some battles don't end with a victorious comeback. They end with you crawling, barely breathing, whispering, "I'm still here." And sometimes that's all survival is. Not a transformation, not a breakthrough, just the stubborn refusal to disappear. The world loves a comeback story. They want to see you fall and rise again, shinier, stronger, invincible. But they don't understand that some falls hurt in ways that never fully heal. Some wounds don't close neatly. Some battles take something from you that you will never get back. And that's the part no one talks about. The exhaustion, the emptiness, the days where moving forward feels like dragging a mountain behind you. And yet, here you are. Not because you became some unbreakable force, but because you refused to quit. Some days you're strong. Some days you're barely hanging on. But strength isn't about looking powerful. It's about enduring, even when your soul is screaming for rest. You don't have to emerge from every hardship as a better version of yourself. You don't owe the world a perfect recovery. You owe yourself persistence. Because in the end, real strength isn't about rising stronger every time. It's about standing your ground, no matter how broken you feel. And that's more than enough. Number 10. They think they can break you. But here's what really happens. Instead, they thought they could break you, thought that if they pushed hard enough, you'd fold, shatter, and disappear. But what they never understood is that you've already been to hell, and you didn't just survive, you adapted. You became something they could never predict, something they now fear but refuse to admit. When you push someone who's already walked through fire, you're not weakening them. You're forcing them to evolve. You're making them shed the last traces of fragility they had left. You're sharpening them into something unrecognizable, something more dangerous than they ever anticipated. They thought they could control you, manipulate you, use your past wounds against you. Instead, they only gave you more reasons to sharpen your edge. You see, the weak ones, the ones who have never suffered when life tests them, they crumble, they retreat, they beg for an easier path. But the chosen ones, the ones who have already faced every nightmare imaginable, they don't run, they don't crumble, they don't beg. They just become something new, stronger, colder, more untouchable than before. The pain they tried to use against you, it only became your fuel. The betrayals, they became your blueprint for who never to trust again. The attempts to destroy you, they became the very lessons that made you unbreakable. And now, here you are. Not just standing, but thriving. Not just surviving, but evolving in ways they never saw coming. You don't react the way they expect anymore. You don't flinch at their petty mind games. You don't crumble under pressure, you apply pressure. And that terrifies them, because they realize now that the version of you they tried to break no longer exists. In their desperate attempt to destroy you, they only created a force that they cannot manipulate, cannot control, and most importantly, cannot defeat. Let them keep trying. Let them keep underestimating you. Every attempt they make to break you will only forge something even stronger. And by the time they realize what they've done, it will be far too late. Because what they're dealing with now is not the person they once knew, it's the version of you that no one can touch. The version that survived. The version that thrives in the face of their failure. And that is their greatest nightmare. And that's the truth. Most refuse to accept survival isn't the end of the battle. It's the beginning of transformation. The chosen ones don't just endure, they evolve. Every scar, every betrayal, every attempt to break them only forges something more powerful. They don't rise because it's easy. They rise because they were built to withstand what others can't. And those who tried to shatter them, they'll spend their days haunted by the reality that they only made them stronger. If this message hit home, like this video, subscribe, and let your voice be heard in the comments below. The chosen never fall, they become untouchable.